saying unidentified fire at World Trade Center. The first piece of emergency information to go out to first responders, and as we now know, pretty gross understatement as to what was going on. Now, when I had first heard that a plane had crashed at the World Trade Center, it wasn't on the news, it wasn't being told by an authority figure, it was being whispered amongst the student body as we were being ushered into an all-school assembly they're about to tell us. And our first reaction, a lot of us, was honestly comical. Because in our minds, it wasn't what it was. In our minds, it was a Cessna, it was a personal plane. In our minds, someone drunk drove into the tallest building in the world. How do you screw that up? But even if you were here, you could see the scale of damage caused by that 767 as it collided the North Tower, which would have been past those trees right there. We still thought it was an accident. So, people in the South Tower, who would have been on the other side of that line of shoes, were told to shelter in place. Now, any other day, and the idea was we thought to be safer in there than deal with any wreckage falling from the North Tower. Now, any other day, any other tragedy, that would have been the right call. But sadly, this was not that day. And about 20 minutes later, the second plane collapsed and crashed into the South Tower, and the world would change forever. We now know 4 767s were hijacked from airports along the East Coast, going to places on the West Coast. The plan, roughly, was to get planes largely fueled up early in their journey to cause the most damage at their points of impact. 2 of them came here, a third to the Pentagon, and a fourth was heading towards Washington, D.C. when it was retaken by passengers on board the plane and crashed in the field in Pennsylvania in 1993. Now that we knew how much bigger it was, we didn't know how much bigger it might become. We didn't know if there'd be gunmen, if there'd be car bombs. We didn't know what else could be a target. Some of the 911 operators were concerned that they might be in danger. So they go to my uncle to guarantee their safety. But all the resources of the NYPD and FDNY are completely committed down here. He was forced to improvise. So he goes to nearby construction crews, convinces them to move their vehicles and the equipment into a makeshift barricade around the building. During your time in New York City, you're going to see these waist-high barriers everywhere you go around most of the important buildings. They are not there just to lean on and look cool. They are rebar reinforced concrete columns designed to take a car going full speed without giving an inch. The metal casings are just for aesthetic purposes. These were already relatively popular in European security standards, but not really a part of the New York landscape at the time. And in a way, my uncle prototyped their usage here in New York City with his makeshift barricade. Now, me and my friends in school found it almost impossible to get in touch with our loved ones back in the city, as we were greeted with error messages like, your call cannot be completed as dialed due to tornado activity in the area. That being the closest the phone systems come to understanding the load and the interference that they were coping with. Now, even though the South Tower was struck second, it collapses first, followed shortly thereafter by the collapse of the North Tower, bathing the area in ash and chemicals. Now, the city was changed dramatically forever from this point. We lost only 3,000 people, including 343 firefighters and 60 police officers. We were deeply traumatized. The area was financially devastated, and we saw an alarming rise in Islamophobia. So we had a lot of feelings we were not ready to handle. We also, in some ways, changed for the better. Now, New York City has a deserved reputation as a dog-eat-dog city, but for a time, at least, the city truly came together. It actually felt like you had people watching your back. Crime just fell through the roof during this time period, and the best way I can demonstrate this is very silly. I'm going to start by admitting that it is silly. But, if you haven't seen the original Spider-Man film, Tobey Maguire, or Willem Dafoe, that film was made before September 11th, but released afterwards. You might recall there's a scene where they're fighting on a bridge and a bunch of New Yorkers start throwing things at the bad guy. They say, if you attack one of us, you attack all of us. The new scene, added in after September 11th, designed to capture the spirit that felt so palpable in the streets of the time. Now, when all was said and done, we had to decide what would go in its place. So, a worldwide competition was initiated. And the problem with many of these proposals was that a lot of them came from people who were not there on the day, or who maybe had not been in New York ever, and so it didn't feel like they understood emotionally what we needed. Now, one submission, a lot of them wanted to build something new, something glamorous. But one designer, an Israeli New Yorker who moved here in the 80s, was there on the day, he designed a piece we love called Reflecting Absence. What we loved about it is that it did not build something new or glorious. Instead, it immortalized what was missing. And so, that is what we're going to be stepping aside today. Now, folks, I'm just going to ask that you remain relatively close to me once we're inside, because we try to keep it relatively low volume, and the closer you are to me, the less I have to